All right, team. Looks like we have who we're going to have for this evening. So we'll go ahead and hop right into it. So again, thanks for taking time to hop on. I'm sure everybody's had a busy day. But before we get into today's session, what I want to do is update you all at least on the past couple weeks. Tanvir, who's on this call today, he also purchased a course, and he's taken a lot of that data, and he's went out and started sending targeted messages to homeowners using the exact same methods that are in the course. And over the course of the last 2.5, 3 weeks, he's gotten back several hot leads. I think the first coming in San Antonio, the second and third come in with units in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then which were 2 units. I think there's only 1 remaining. And then the same agent or broker also had 4 apartments down in Lynchburg, Virginia. But we've had several conversations, really just every day, touch points to understand where we were within the course of that. And then we hopped on the call, was it yesterday or day before yesterday or sometime this week, and we spoke with the owner as well as the agent, Julia. That call was also recorded. So what I'll do is, once we're done with this session and this wraps up, and I plug it into to the YouTube channel for you all to go back and view, I'll also drop that call in. And if you've taken a course and you've seen the script and you've seen some of the frequently asked questions and some of the things I've talked about, you'll see all of that come out in the discussion with the homeowner. Older guy, I think he kept relating that he was 60 and he wasn't going to do this his whole life, and he was looking for something very different. He was looking for some stability, all those key things that we talk about, and those pain points that we've come to understand that all investors or homeowners have. He was looking essentially to avoid that. And in offering him a long-term lease agreement was paramount in this deal because of the way he felt about tenant turnover. And then the business model was something he was also attached to. He mentioned it several times, but just from a business perspective, he understood what we were trying to do. So as I always say, once we get to a point to where we're getting ready to have these discussions, it is not a tenant to landlord discussion anymore. It is investor to investor discussion about us asking their permission to run our business out of their business, which is their home. And I think that approach from a mentality standpoint lends you to better positioning during the call. So either way, you all will you'll get access to it and get a chance to listen in on the entire call, which I think went relatively well. So at the end of that, we agreed in kind to rent both places in Charlottesville. I think one of those have came off the market based on our conversation today. And then all 4 units in Lynchburg, Virginia, to which the agent just sent over the leases for review today. So that's been what's happening on our end. But thanks to Tanvir and his efforts, taking the exact same information that he received in the course and going out and applying it landed several deals within the course of a couple of weeks. There was also another lead in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Owners had 5 units that they had recently remodeled, beachfront on 9th Street Northeast or Northwest down in Fort Lauderdale, a prime location. I think at this point, I haven't heard back from the agent after a couple phone calls with her, send her some information that she was requesting, but they were basically fielding offers from all over. I don't think they were in a rush to rent the places until they got to a price point that they were comfortable with. But that's just one of those situations where homeowners in a prime location will not always necessarily bend to what we're offering, even though we had a long-term lease agreement on the table. They're very aware of their positioning, not only in that market, but just to have a place that close to the beach in such a location that allows short-term rentals. So either way, didn't hear back from the agent yet. I don't expect to hear back because I did offer lower than what they were asking for. So I'm sure they got some offers at market or above market to take on those properties. Sandra, anything to add there?
No, you covered it all.
Good. Also, and again, thanks for your efforts on those and bringing me in to have those conversations with the homeowners to take it in. So hopefully that was of some value to you, getting a chance to sit in and listen as we work through each of those deals for those places.
Yeah.
Good deal. So I will share my screen. So trick question here. When we're looking at market research and analysis, where do we start? Anybody?
Demographic. Traveler demographic.
Traveler demographics. All right. Anybody else?
Value gap or market gap.
Market gaps.
Someone motivated to sell. I mean, someone motivated to get someone in there.
Okay. Good stab. Kira, what do you think?
The market.
What was that? Sorry.
I said the market.
The market. Looking at the market, Sylvia, what are your thoughts?
What was the question?
When doing market research and analysis, where's our start point?
I would say the market gaps as well. Like, where is there a potential need that's not getting filled yet in the current, like, what's the competition doing, but what can you fill that they're not doing?
Okay. Good. So the winner is, right, traveler demographics. And I hope that's not a surprise, and we'll talk about why. So in any market, I don't have to insult your intelligence to tell you that if you're in Denver, Colorado, you'll have a different traveler demographic than if you're in Savannah, Georgia, or in Atlanta, Georgia, right? Because both markets offer something different, which means you're going to have a different a different mix of traveler demographics that will travel to both those locations. So the question that always comes up is, well, who are these different traveler demographics, and then how do you find them, right? And where, do you come up with these different traveler demographics? So for Airbnb related purposes, some of the travel demographics are just known, and they're common to every market, right? And I'll share my screen here to show our little fancy document here. Let me know if everybody can see it. All right, I've got my fancy eraser mark it on. Can everyone see the screen here?
Yep.
Yes.
I can see.
Okay, great. So if you look at this first section here to the left, it's not highlighting. Okay. There we go. No, that's my rookie, my Zoom rookiness is coming out. Get here. A little better. Okay. Either way, I'm here on the far left. You can see where it says travel demographics. So starting from the top, I've listed some of the most basic travel demographics that are common to just about every market, right? And as you look at them or go down, you can see why. A family with kids with pets, family with kids and pets, or a couple just traveling with no kids or pets. And the reason why these are common and why they're important is, at least with kids and with pets, if we relate that back to Airbnb, there are filters in Airbnb that allow us to select kid-friendly amenities as well as pet-friendly amenities. So those are important traveler demographics to assess across every market, because they're normal things, right? People travel with their kids and people travel with their pets, so we can never discount them. And it goes back to what I always say, that to understand that these are travel demographics that exist, and then not to offer or cater to them in your listing, you are leaving money on the table, right? So those are important, and that's why they're listed up front. Number 5 is the business traveler, right? And if you see the document that I posted yesterday, I drew an arrow from business traveler and traveler demographic to number 8 in the middle, which is a dedicated office space, down to number 12 under unique value, where you have a dual monitor setup, right? So if you follow the logic here, we understand that Airbnb does have a section for the business traveler, and you do then have an opportunity in your listing to select a dedicated office space. So how do we make that value into a unique value proposition for the traveler, for the business traveler, is to then have a dual monitor setup that they then just get to come in, plug in their computer to the HDMI cords or the USB cords that are attached, and they've got a nice accommodation that suits their travel needs. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. So number 7, events, and I've talked about this at length before, but we typically in most cases allow events at most of our places, and again the reason why is because to allow an event doesn't necessarily mean you have to allow the crowd that everybody fears, right? The thing you have to understand is that you control, right? One, who you allow based on how you set your guest preferences, and 2, your house rules, and then your internal screening process, whether it's through an insurance company like Safely that we use, or whether it's relying on Airbnb screening. But either way, you can host small, nice events at any location and charge a premium for them. And the other side of this conversation obviously comes back to peer space with having your place listed on peer space for events. Number 8, it's common to a lot of markets, but uncommon also. Medical professionals, and I put that broadly, and for most of us, what we know that to be is our traveling nurses. But traveling nurses don't fit a traveler demographic in every market, which I think is a bad assumption in most cases. So we don't necessarily, we want to understand hospitals that are training hospitals in markets that have a large travel nurse demographic before we cater more specifically in terms of how we set our availability dates versus having them for regular stays. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you're in a market like Montgomery, Alabama, where we have the #1 travel nurse hospital in the state of Alabama, we tailor our availability in our days differently because we have more of a target in that market for medical professionals as well as military families that both, when they book for over 90 days. So the impact from a value standpoint, it's in our calendar and how we adjust and use our calendar and its availability to specifically target that traveler demographic that we know exists. So my point is that if it doesn't exist, then it shouldn't affect how you use your availability in your calendar. Contractors, goes without saying, that's just understanding what's happening in the area, and this could happen anywhere, right? Your town could be having, or the town where you're listed could be having an economic boom. So if you understand from an economic standpoint what's coming in the market, you'll then understand if you can position yourself to take on contractors that are coming to do work in the area. That becomes a calendar adjustment from a value standpoint, understanding that. Anybody in the market that has snowbirds? No? Okay, so snowbirds, just for everybody's situational awareness or general understanding, are typically older travelers that tend to get away from the cold weather in the north during the winter months. So if you're in a warm weather climate, my recommendation would be to look on a site that's called AmericanSnowbird.com. AmericanSnowbird.com. That site is pretty popular amongst snowbirders, and we use it in all of our Florida properties to book our winters out. I didn't know this to be true before investing in Florida, but quickly found out that it's a necessity anywhere in the South, really. If you're in a good prime location in the South, it is imperative to me that you not only understand snowbirds, but their travel times, and then typically what they're looking for. And you've got to be prepared to take the credit card offline and send a lease agreement potentially by mail, right? Because you're just dealing with a different traveler demographic that's used to doing things by credit card versus an Airbnb platform. That's just the nature of it. Number 11, COVID created, right? COVID created the staycation local traveler. So they are now a traveler demographic that we cater to. In most circles, you'll hear them called locals, and you'll hear people often say, well, I don't want to rent to locals. Well, this goes back to my point talking about events, right? You can control the flow, right? And how we do that in most cases is if they're local, they have to send a request before they book. They get a questionnaire as to the reason for their travel. And then we have a chance to approve or disapprove that, period. And as long as it's listed in your house rules, you then get a chance to cancel it without penalty if for breaking the house rules, if you had not established contact with the guest first. So again, don't leave money on the table, because we've had some fantastic staycationers, especially for the property down in St. Pete that has a pool and a hot tub. Folks just want to get away sometimes and have something different to do for their family. Any questions up to this point? Good.
Alvin, for the sorry, Sylvia. For the staycation type of traveler, you mean being open to locals booking your listing?
Right, that's exactly it, Sylvia. Just understanding that everybody's not out to get you or to trash your place or cause some harm to your place. And I think there are more bad stories than good stories, right? That surface online, and then it tends to create fear. Let's just call it what it is. So then you get the question, hey, someone just booked my place and they live less than 2 miles away. Should I take them or should I not? Right. Those questions are born out of fear, out of all the bad stories. But we don't tell the good stories about the family that lived a few houses down and stayed for 7 days and left the place in immaculate condition. Right. We don't hear about those stories, but we know they exist. But my whole point comes back to your ability to control, right, the movement and the speed, as I call it, through your house rules and that contract that you put in place. And as long as it's listed and you have the ability to cancel without penalty for violation of your house rules, then you're set, right? So you get a chance to vet and feel comfortable with anybody that makes a reservation to your property.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have it where locals need to contact me, and we'll make a decision based on our own discretion what the reasoning is.
Perfect.
But, yeah.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. And number 13, right? The most underutilized traveler demographic section, which is called accessibility in Airbnb. I'll show you all in Wheelhouse, where if you look across any market, Wheelhouse just gives you a snapshot of amenities offered, but just so happened this one falls into a specific traveler demographic. But the number of listings in any market that have handicap accessibility filled out, right? it's less than 1% across the board. So we are very intentful about making sure we take a few minutes to fill out the accessibility portion, even if the place has stairs or elevators, or it, for whatever configuration it may have. We like to say that handicap folks have been enabled, right, nowadays to access places that they didn't in the past with technology, ramps and some other motorized things that I've seen people travel with. So never discount yourself from that specific traveler demographic. And I think we've gotten at least 3 bookings just this year across different properties because it was one of the only places listed with handicap accessibility, and they weren't that accessible to begin with, but nothing else showed up. So there you have it. Medical patients, again, you can tie that back to medical professionals. I'll give the example down in Houston, Texas, where you have the medical center, as well as travel nurses are frequented at that facility. So those 2 travel demographics, understanding those 2 travel demographics in that specific location in the Houston market, our calendars are templated at a minimum of 7-day stays. So what we understand, what came to be true is that those 2 travel demographics have a pretty big share of the market in that area specifically. So we stayed booked between travel nurses and medical patients in that area. So any questions on the traveler demographics? And anybody can answer this, but where do you think you could potentially look to get an idea, if you didn't have any of who those traveler demographics may be in a certain area? So everybody familiar with TripAdvisor?
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't know if this answer is surprising to anyone, but TripAdvisor it's my recommendation. And the reason why is because they tell you everything to do in any area. So what we draw from things to do in an area is who's coming to do them, right? So that's how, at least in Cav's world, these traveler demographics were born by simply going into different markets in TripAdvisor and seeing not only what are the popular things to do, but you then can look at medical facilities in areas, right? All in TripAdvisor, they give you the whole gamut of everything to do from eating to drinking to breakfast and medical emergencies, right? Where local facilities are. So if you all find anything that's different, or you've searched maybe Expedia or some other sites that give you the same type of insight, I'd be interested to know what else is out there that allows you to look at and identify different traveler demographics in any particular area. All right, so I'm going to come back to the value analysis chart here, and then what I'll do is I'll just walk through the operation of it. So as we look at different markets, again, the way this form works is pretty simple. So I select the traveler demographic, and then it gives me a TD total, TD standing for traveler demographic. I then come over to value plus value gaps. So the difference here, in some cases, you have value, right? Because you may be a superhost. That's not necessarily a value gap, but in the same context, if there's less than 1% of the market that has self check-in, then we understand that to be a value gap. So that's something that we're gonna make sure we select or position ourselves to offer in our market. Dedicated office space. Let's look at the guest reviews. Those are always important. They give you some added value, and pet plus pet amenities that we offer. So we've got total value gaps here, selected 5, and then unique value. This section here, everything that's here is something that ideally has to be created in most cases. The first one being just having a unique place, a cabin form, tiny home. We've all seen them. In most cases nowadays, having one of these unique homes will lend you very well on Airbnb, because they're just unique spaces. And all you then have to do is add the right touches to them from a decor standpoint, and you'll do relatively well. Large groups, the 12 to 16 range, that head to bed ratio. You all have heard me talk about this before, but 10 to 12 becomes the magic line in most markets, where you start to see less and less homes that are available. So 12 to 16, you're sort of in rare territory in most markets in terms of the number of homes that are available that sleep up to 16 people. So if you have a home that has that capacity, then you're going to offer some unique value in that market. Pool, spa, or pool and spa combo all give you unique value. Those are things that are not offered in most markets, or offered widely in most markets, sorry. Game room with a pool table. This one, I've experienced it personally, more specifically with a place in Somerville where we had a chef whose son was coming home from the Navy for his birthday. They booked the home for 7 days because they just had a large family gathering. Again, they were locals. They had a large family gathering coming in, and she had 4 to 5 different homes that she had to choose from. And she chose our place for the game room and the popcorn machine. Number 7's a fairly new one, EV chargers. So keep that on your short list, at least when you're looking at it. It's now a selectable item in both VRBO as well as Airbnb. So my thoughts are, if there's an EV charger in your area, list it. List it, but then spell out in the summary or the space where it's located. So if it's 2 miles away or 8 miles away at the local garage, you at least give those travelers the option, right? But again, it's one of those things that's in less than 1% of markets at this point. So do a search for EV chargers that may be near your listing. And if it's near, add it, and you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much more attention that draws. But again, it's a filterable item. So if someone's looking for that more specifically because of the type of vehicle they're traveling with, then there you go. Location, that's pretty self-explanatory. Most places that are in downtown locations have high walk scores. They'll offer some unique value themselves just due to the location itself. Peer space, we've all heard the story again about the event-based platform that you can list your home from, that then enables us to offer something truly unique in our marketplace. Events, again, tied into peer space, but also having a place that has unique value from a head to bed ratio standpoint and allowing events then allow you to capitalize big time in terms of what you ask for or your ask. And I'll give you an example. So back to Somerville, South Carolina, where we can, the home can sleep up to 20. It's obviously listed at 16, but for anyone coming in to host an event, and we get many requests because of the yard size and the sleeping capacity, we then just give them standard protocol of anywhere from the $750 to $2,000 carry deposit, depending on the number of people they're bringing. And they get an event fee, they get a parking fee, they get a valet trash fee on top of their rates. So having those unique value aspects enable us to charge or add a lot more cost to their stays. Rentable equipment and services, chefs, a kayak, bike, scooters, again, location dependent, but if and where you can offer any of those services will give you some unique value in the market, because those items or services are just not offered widely. And a note, if you have rentable equipment, and because in most cases, like a chef isn't selectable, at least in Airbnb, you want to list it in the title, so people know, and then they can ask about the chef services that are offered, as well as I think you can list or select bikes now, but we're starting to see electric scooters pop up at Airbnbs that are rentable, which I think is a pretty neat idea, because they cost less than $500, and they come with the ability for you to control them through an app. So if those things last 2-3 years, you should make a pretty significant amount of money renting those scooters over that period of time. And the last one being the example I gave earlier about the dual monitor setup. So again, just walking from through each of these areas, I'll select here traveler demographic, dedicated office space, and dual monitor setup. And and just understanding that business traveler is a travel demographic that has a filterable space in Airbnb, which is the dedicated office space. And then a way to add unique value in this case would be the dual monitor setup. But as you look at this form, it then gives us our internal numbering system of, for example, 5 traveler demographics and 4 value gaps noted, and 4 or 5 unique value areas that we will add to a listing. But this essentially paints the picture for us and helps us understand what we're going to build out in a specific listing. So what I'm going to do is go into the Savannah, Georgia market here. But before I go, I'll pause here for any questions.
Hey, Alvin, question about the rentable equipment. I was actually something this week that I was planning to thinking about doing with electric bikes, for example. The thing is with electric bikes, like, or scooters, um, what is the average like range in equipment rentals? Would it be, for example, one bike's $20 a day and two for 30, or what what pricing strategy do you see that works? And then also the second question is, as far as reporting that extra income goes, like, would that still be associated, like, let's say for Turo, we had a rental car put on Turo, offered to guests, or even outside of Airbnb, and just have that be a separate income stream. Would that income be like reported in that entity with the rental arbitrage portfolio that's connected to, or is that just completely different income stream to report that off to, or is that a question for the accountant?
The lawyer answer says it depends, right? As it always does, because everybody's situation is different. But in the first case, with regard to the scooters, I would not list it separately. I would just upsell the price of my listing in my pricing strategy.
Oh, so it would be like a complimentary.
It would be complimentary,
But-
but I would factor it into the nightly rate. So
Got
it would uncomplicate the having to, have somebody for 10 days, and on day 5 they want to rent it. So then, you
Yeah.
now have to go in and then charge them for whatever time they say they're going to use it. And then you've got to worry about if they're using it
Right,
beyond that
like how to
time.
track.
Right.
Yeah, understood. Okay, makes sense. That makes sense.
And in the second case, almost the same thing, right? So if you have a vehicle on Turo, but it's offered with the Airbnb, I would then just include it and add the cost of that car rental through the resolution center in Airbnb. So
Okay.
we keep everything as clean as possible by charging through the site in some capacity.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think you just create a mess. But I'll back up for a second, because we do have external services that are separate outside of Airbnb. For example, the cars that do book on Turo have their own income, which means it has to be reported. But when we send all that information over to the CPA or accountant, they take the Excel data sheet from each of those with the payout information or income expense information, and it wraps all into Schedule C for those particular business losses, expense and losses.
Oh, okay. All right. So that would be the that income's reported in the rent as not as rental income, but within that same LLC of the Airbnb that's in.
Yep. Services
Okay.
is what it's titled under, I believe.
Services. Okay, cool. Just took note of that. All right. Thank you very much for your advice with that.
All right. Any other questions before we hop into hot pads? All right. So I didn't mean to go to hot pads first. I meant to go to Airbnb. Okay. So after our traveler demographics, we then, minus all the hoopla about AirDNA and other sites, we go right to the source, right, in Airbnb, because it gives us the data we want, more specific to the value gaps that we're looking for, and unique value offerings that that are offered or not offered in our market, right? AirDNA does not give us that level of data, so from a value standpoint, it does us no good. So our next pit stop is Airbnb, and you can see here I'm in the Savannah market, and I won't add dates. What I did was I went in and added 8 guests, and now we see that it's showing us some generic number of 300 plus stays with 8 guests, and then we're going to simply just go in here and look at the look at some of the key amenities that we look for based on what's in our chart here. And this is, I'm going through this as I would when doing our own market research and analysis. I don't necessarily always select Superhost to start with, because it's just it's good, but it's not necessary in order to determine value in the market. We'll come right down to the key amenities here. High chair, self check-in. This is crib. And then we'll come down to facilities there. No, doesn't matter here. That's allowed. All right. So just based on selecting these filters again, which are all here in our chart, we went from over 300 stays down to 50 stays, right? So if we then select InstaBook and the Superhost filter, we're down to 13 stays. Again, as I'm walking through this, we understand that each of these items are filterable, which means when guests go in, they have a choice to make. So it gets back to my key point about this, right? It's never where you start, but where you finish, and what you're offering for guests. So what we'll do is we'll leave this on, we'll take this off, and we'll look at the 38 places that sleep 8 with our selected amenities. And guess whose listing sits right here up top? Want to take a guess at it?
It's your listing.
It's my
Alfalfa.
listing, right? And let's see if we can find the second one. So we're all out here on the coast. Let's zoom in a little bit. They're outside of my market on the coast down there. Those folks aren't looking for the same places. All right, so there's Live Oak. All right, here's the dual listing. This is both places combined. You can see they have the same headline, perfectly located downtown, Duren Duo, sleep 16 plus. So I have a second listing in here that also sleeps 8. They're in the same building, just different floors. And then the third listing is the one that sleeps 16 plus. So just based on what we understand or what we saw in the market, let's take a look at this listing. Trying to get to the amenities offered here. Okay. So you can see in here, if you go in here and select the amenities offered, they fit exactly what we're looking for. And then again, I'll come back to the value analysis form, but each of these are listed in that particular form for us to choose from. So just to walk this back really quick, if I'm in the Savannah market as we were looking for places, then when we went in initially and went into the filters, our target goal was to sleep at least eight people. We didn't necessarily know what was going to be available based on in the market. So we didn't necessarily select the type of home we were looking for, but more or less targeted the specific amenities that to help us better understand what gaps existed in the market. So based on where we're positioned right now with under 50 or so homes with these amenities offered, if I go back over to my value analysis form and I select those travel demographics, it gave me at least 6 different travel demographics in the Savannah market. The value gaps that were noted were one, head to bed ratio, where we knew sleeping 8 in a 2-bedroom put us in rare territory, and then it still positioned us to double up and get a max of 16, which then gives the third listing unique value in the market. Pets and pets amenities, kid-friendly amenities, self check-in, all checked here, along with dedicated office space. All those gave us an understanding of where we needed to be positioned in the market. So at the end of all of this, what we now know is that my places are not competing with every other place in the market, just based on where we're positioned and what we're seeing and what we're offering. And I will now go up to, I'll change the guest count to 16. And based on the filters that I've selected, my place is the only one in the market that shows up, right? That's pretty significant because now my calendar, right, it does not move. It is listed at $850 a night and $1250 or so on weekends, and that's it, right? So at the end of the day, and if you don't take anything else away from this, I think this is the position that we should all strive to be in, where you're not competing in the market with anyone, or you're competing with very few, which then means you control the pricing in the market. So then we're less reliant upon wheelhouse and price labs to drive our prices based on demand, because we are the demand in the market in this particular case. Now, granted, we do have 5 filters selected, and someone could be traveling without looking for one of those 5 things. But again, I'm still competing with everyone that can sleep 16 plus. But as we start to select filters for very specific amenities that travelers travel or look for when they travel, then we're the only place that shows up. But market-wide, you'll see down here, it says, if you remove all filters, there's about 19 places that sleep 16 plus in the market. But again, you do the math, it's better to be one of 19 in any market than one of 3,000 in the market, right? Any questions here?
I just want to make sure, and in Savannah, there's no like cap to guest occupancy, like a max occupancy limit.
No, there's not.
Great.
Well, the for the bedrooms, but not for the whole home. So if you have space or sleepable space, you can utilize that space to sleep guests. But the
Right.
bedrooms, from a code standpoint, are only allowed a max of 2 people. But the city does allow you to
Right.
list more based on your floor plan, and if you have, in most cases, dual exits, then you can list more people. But very unique in terms of how they look at their regulations. And this is just one of those markets where they know they're sitting on a gem, and by restricting people restricts their economic activity. So
Okay.
they have code enforcement and codes against it, but they're very flexible. I think more sensible in terms of what they allow based on floor plans and some other factors.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. You're compliant and everything. And we found that.
Yep, and to note, these 2 places actually had to get re-permitted, and that just came back yesterday. So they were on pause for about a week or so, but they worked with me to get them re-permitted, and they're back up now. But so there you go, right? That's a look into the market research, and then what we saw in the market, and then how these places were built, right, to offer value in the market. So at both for each bedroom or each listing that sleeps 8, with our chosen amenities based on what we understood not to be offered in the market. First place was listed right there out of all of the listings, even with the filters chosen. And then the same filters applied. The dual listing is the only one that shows up in the entire market. So there you have it. I'll hop over to hot pads here really quickly, and this is the 3rd step in this process. So once we understand the travel demographics, and then we're in Airbnb to understand where the gaps exist, then we hop over to hot pads to see what's available in the market. And again, for those of you that have been through the course, what you'll know is that there's only one filter here that matters, and it is the for rent by owner filter. And once we select that, it then gives us, our 66 listings in the market to then choose from. So at this point, now it's just taking our script and getting it out to homeowners down here in the market and waiting on something to come back. And then once we get those back, just as I mentioned earlier with Tanvir, being able to have that investor to investor discussion about the use of their place, which happened with each of my places here in Savannah. The homeowners they're all investors who understood exactly what we were looking to do. Didn't have any objections, but one unique thing about this market that doesn't exist in most markets, homeowners have to apply for the actual permit. So if that's part of the process that turns them off, then getting into a market like this won't be possible for you. But in my case, both homeowners or investors understood the value of having long-term agreements at a premium price, albeit. So they agreed to hold the permits. My company applied for a business license using the address of the home, and we're able to get the places legal. And then it's just business as usual at that point, getting them set up from end to end and listed. Any questions there? Does anybody here use Wheelhouse, or have you heard of Wheelhouse before?
I've used Beyond Pricing about a year ago. I don't use it anymore though. But I think it's somewhat similar to Wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. So everybody's entering the market to provide more data to customers. And Wheelhouse recently released this market intel and concepts, what I'm showing here. And in lieu of now of using Airbnb, I've also started to use Wheelhouse and include some of this analysis in some of my my turnkey effort packets that go out to investors. And what we'll see here, and this is the only thing I really focus on here, are the amenities that are listed here. And the reason why is because it gives us a quick snapshot of how much of the market offers these specific amenities, right? So if you see here, I hovered over family kid-friendly amenities, and it says less than 1% of the market. So it gives me the same data without having to filter in Airbnb to understand that that's a gap in the market. So I've looked at this in Airbnb in some cases to compare the two, and it's been pretty accurate based on what we've seen. You've got laptop-friendly workspace here. Again, less than 1% of the market. Suitable for events, less than 1% of the market. EV charger, we've got listed, less than 1% of the market. Let's see what else we've got. But all of the amenities that are filterable in Airbnb are in here. So it gives you a pretty good snapshot of the market from an amenity standpoint. If you come over here to room types as well as bedrooms, this is also pretty good data because it helps you understand if there are any unique stays in the market. So if you were an investor looking to buy something that's rather unique in a particular market, then these are some areas that you can quickly get a snapshot. Cabin is only 7% of listings that are listed as cabins, and then others, which probably means RVs, campers, tents, glamping sites, things of that nature. Only less than 3%, which means you're operating in rare air with some of those unique stays. The bedrooms, again, you can see here, it's a 1 and 2 bedroom dominated place, but what we do understand that even in a 2 bedroom where we're sleeping 8, we are competing with homes that have 3 and 4 bedrooms based on our head to bed ratio. And that's important because we're competing with everyone, as I call it, up and down the bedroom spectrum, whether it's a 1 bedroom or a 4 bedroom. By sleeping 8 and then dual listing the places to sleep 16, we're competing with everyone in the market for every traveler demographic across the head to bed ratio spectrum. But again, Wheelhouse allows you to do that quick snapshot of analysis to understand markets. This is also some good data here too, and you can see here. I think my place showed. Let's go back to. Eight. So you'll see here, I'm listed at $249 a night, and this is where the pricing softwares help out. This place typically books somewhere between $275 to $450 a night based on the demand, and it's linked to Wheelhouse. So what typically happens is the prices get driven up pretty quickly, especially for weekend stays. I am trying to see why my other listing is not showing up. I don't think I changed the head to bed ratio in there. Well, let me go to my listings and see. So 8 here, 6. No, that's the reason it's not showing up. So let me change that back to its normal sleeping capacity. Save, we'll refresh that. We'll refresh this list. Okay, so now you see my 2 places listed right here. But they've got the same makeup, 8 guests, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and offer pretty much the same thing. So what was I talking about here? But in the market itself, using Wheelhouse to drive prices up based on demand. Both these places book for well above their base rate. So per night, being linked to Wheelhouse, and the weekend demand in this market's pretty it's pretty outrageous. And then there's no parking. There's no dedicated parking that far downtown. So people have to pay to park in a parking garage, which can be an issue in some cases, but not in this market. People typically don't fret or not book because of the lack of parking. They come fully expecting to have that as an added cost. But again, so if you're looking at a market, this is just another tool using Wheelhouse to look at markets. You can do that now and get a pretty good snapshot of where gaps exist in the market. without having to filter all the way through Airbnb to do it. But I'd recommend that if you do it, just check in Airbnb just to compare the accuracy of the two. Any questions on that?
Just a quick question. Wheelhouse, is it free to get that data, or you have to sign up for their pricing plan?
I think you probably have to sign up, but I'm not sure because I've been with them for so long.
Okay.
But certainly worth a try. You know, I think at the end of the day, because you've only got one listing that you would have to then turn on. But I think for this purpose, these tools are great because the one thing that we're void of is data to understand the demand for events or particular weekends, or it could be a weekday where one example, I had a place that's priced at $99 a night. It's connected in Wheelhouse, and somehow the availability in the market went dry, and someone booked for one night, and they booked at $219 for that one night plus their cleaning fee, which, you know, $300 booking for a place that typically rents at $99. I would have never assessed that in the market. So, you know, it does have its perks for the 1% or 0.75% that they charge per booking.
Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you.
So you're not connected to any pricing tools currently?
At the moment, no. I only have one listing though. I understand. I would have multiple. I'd probably look into it, but no, I just manage it from my calendar and the Airbnb dashboard.
Okay, awesome. Cool. All right. So minus any questions, what I sent the note that went out last night. I put down there some opportunities that were coming available before they hit the market, really. So for, you know, anyone in this group, really get a chance to understand what's coming up and start having a conversation about it if it's something you're interested in. But those locations that were listed are either working or going under contract pretty soon. The locations in Jacksonville and Newark are both apartment complexes that we've talked to and that offer or allow Airbnb with no restrictions. So those are always good. They're pretty rare finds to have properties that allow Airbnb with no restrictions in terms of the number of stays or having to have a corporate entity to rent and conduct a business. They're fully on board. So those two locations could be ideal for someone looking for something to get into rather quickly. Smaller places, you know, of course, being in apartment complexes and central locations has perks, you know, with the maintenance, lower cost to get in, and then typically your operating expenses are a little bit lower in apartments. So those are available. So if anyone is interested in any of those opportunities, just let me know, and more specifically for the apartments, we'll help out where we can in terms of helping build places out. I think Kenny, who's normally in here, he's getting 2 places in New Jersey. So we've already linked him up with one of our interior designers who's helping with the design. I think she's going to fly out early May to be on ground for him to help with the setup. And then he'll be positioned in his first 2 Airbnbs here within the next couple of weeks. So pretty excited for him. Any questions or anything for me? All right, so Tanvir, I will follow up with Julia this evening. She did send the leases over for Lynchburg. I think based on our conversation, you're interested in Charlottesville as well as Lynchburg. So I'll get her what she needs in the next day or two to secure those for 1 June rental start date. And then I'll get an interior designer assigned to those probably this weekend, and then try to get someone out to do, if not face-to-face with Julia, at least a Zoom where they can walk through the space and start to get some design ideas for those lofts. But otherwise should be good, pretty exciting projects. I think the costs are relatively low for the area with the potential that those spaces have. So those should be pretty fun to play with from a design standpoint, as well as the potential in the area.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alvin, I had emailed a few weeks ago about changing the billing info for the mentorship. I'll follow up with you on that, but I just need to update my credit card information.
Okay. Do you by chance have a Stripe account?
Yes, I have a Stripe account.
Okay. Let me know next time you log in, let me know if this subscription does not show in your account.
The teachable.com or okay. Yeah, because I went into Teachable in the account settings, but it didn't give me the option to update it manually myself. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it should be in your, because the payments are taken through Stripe, so updating it would be through your Stripe account and not in Teachable.
Oh, okay.
So just let me know if you don't see it, then we can do it. We can do it here manually.
Okay.
And get that taken care of for you.
Okay, I'll log in and see if I can pull that up on Stripe.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so again, I'll add this once it goes through its processing. I'll add this to the same private YouTube channel that you all have access to, and I'll upload the session from earlier this week with myself, Tanvir, the owner in Lynchburg and Charlottesville, and his agent Julia. But hopefully this session was of some value to you all, and don't let me forget, but I want to get you all this value analysis tool or form for your own personal use to play with. And again, it's not anything special, but it just contextualizes what we do and helps us understand what we're looking at in terms of data. So when you look at it after you go into a market, you understand the traveler demographics associated with that particular market. You can walk through the value gaps based on the information you input through the filters, and then understand where you can potentially add unique value, or where value does not exist, or unique value does not exist in a market. And then you're templated to building a listing that will have value offered in its market. So what I'll do on our next call, which is next week, because this was a makeup call, I will walk through the Lynchburg listings from a value standpoint using this form. And then I'll just send you all out the analysis packet that will go with it. And it'll show a snapshot of the travel demographics, the gaps that we saw, and any unique value points that we'll have, which will be at least a head-to-bed ratio, because they're 4 units. So we'll be able to aggregate and do some special things there. But what you'll see is in the chart, it'll give you a snapshot of what we're going to do with the listing. So how this then relates is this enables the conversation with the interior designer, right? Just to link this together. So when we have that conversation, they understand what we need to offer in the space. For example, hey, this place needs to sleep 8 people. Make sure we get our standard kid-friendly amenities set up, our pet-friendly amenities set up. If it's a large business travel area, we want the dual monitor set up, on the bar, or a dedicated office space based on the other space in the home. But that's the linkage between this analysis, this tool, and passing that data on to the interior designer, so they can then go and do what they do best. All right. Well, I appreciate your time as always, and we'll be on next week. And next week's session, again, look at the Lynchburg effort, just to understand what that's going to look like after the analysis is done. And then we'll roll into the beginning portions of the build phase. So in this case, since we're going through a new build with Lynchburg, what we'll do is we'll just walk through that portion of the information that's in the course, and then we'll hop in a Thumbtack, our site that's used for sourcing housekeepers. And my goal will be to show how we position ourselves to hire the right people, more specifically housekeepers, using Thumbtack site, and see what we get back. But the whole goal will be to build the team around the interior designer that will travel to that site to put the place together. So that's how that all starts to come together. But thanks for your time, and any questions or concerns, I'm available by phone always, and by email. So look for everything that was done tonight and in the session to be in YouTube with the link back to you by tomorrow sometime. And you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll chat. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.